I saw something recently that it was an interesting thought experiment that made me chuckle. It has to do with the legality of marriage, polyamory, and polygamy. So, it is legal for two people to get married. It is legal for a group of people to move in together, to have sex, to have children together, to combine their finances, to do whatever the heck they want. But it is illegal for multiple people to get married to each other. Now, a bunch of this happened because of the Mormons. And so a great deal of these laws got put into place due to religious legal battles. And the fact that, let's face it, the head of the Mormon faith, the founder of the Mormon faith, was a very interesting individual that, if you really want to read some interesting stuff, you should read about the founder of the Mormon faith. It's an interesting story. But I was thinking about it going, well, why is polygamy not legal? I mean, the thing that they were talking about was that there was a lot of child brides happening in those territories, and a child cannot consent. It does not seem like you should have a law specifically aimed towards marriage because you assume that the polygamist group is going to have a bunch of sex crimes going on, because those are still crimes. You should be able to have polygamy available for those who want to do it, as long as all the people involved are consenting adults. Of course, that would require a whole bunch of states to raise the legal marriageable age to 18, which I'm kind of shocked is still not a thing in the year 2023. Heck, there was recently something in the news where there was one of the southern states, of course, that had the marriageable age is 12, and there was a group of people and activists who were like, how about we raise the legal age to 14, something a little less crazy. And this Republican politician gets up and just, well, I know a bunch of couples that got married at 12 and they're together, and it was just this whole thing. And I'm like, what's the rush? Why would you get married at 12? Why not wait? You're going to be together for the rest of your lives, right? Okay. Well, if you're going to be together for the rest of your lives, why in the heck are we going to make a big deal about it at that age? But I am getting a little bit off topic. Polygamy. Should it be legal? Morally, ethically, I don't see why it should be illegal. It seems like a totally fine thing. But then, another thought crept into my head. What happens when a divorce occurs? Now, with two people, it's easy. If one of them decides to get a divorce, the divorce happens. Both people do not have to consent to the divorce. Both people only have to consent to the union. Okay, that makes sense. But what happens in a polygamous relationship? So let's go ham on this. Let's say 5 people are in a polyamorous cuddle puddle, and they all decide to get married to each other. They all intermingle their finances. They have children. They all live in a gigantic house. It's a heck of a life. Sounds really good. Then 3 members of the group decide they no longer want to be married to one member of the group. But one member of the group decides they love the marriage and don't want anybody to break up. Also, the one person being ousted from the group doesn't really want to be divorced from the group. I mean, there's a couple members they're not fond of, but they're fine with staying, and they don't want their finances to be torn to pieces and their lives to be shattered and forced to move away. But the 3 members do want them to be forced away? Or what happens if only 1 or 2 members want somebody else to be forced out of the group, or 2 people to be forced out of the group? Now you have a big problem of law. Whose opinion matters? If 1 or 2 people want somebody to be divorced out of the group, but other people in the group do not want them to be divorced out of the group, what do? It makes a level of complexity that is way beyond just 2 people. And 2 people in a marriage and a divorce, that's plenty of complexity. And it can take years to hammer out the lawsuits and the divorce settlements and dealing with the kids and the finances and the house and the this and that's. And, you got child support and alimony payments and all of these different things that happen. Throw polygamy into that and see what happens. A level of complexity so beyond anything we've really conceived at the moment. And the differences of opinions of somebody wants this person out, but the other person doesn't. Oh my gosh. It's absolutely insane. And so, to the truly progressive people that really do want to make it so that absolutely everybody can do what they want to do, and the rules and regulations shouldn't really prevent them from doing it, I hear you, and I get it. And I understand that in theory, it all makes sense for people to do that which they wish to do. But there is also a practical side to this, because people are imperfect. And when people do decide to do the things that they're not supposed to do, the various complexities of the world suddenly come slamming down into your face. That is why, in theory, I am for most progressive ideas. But when we take those ideas and we start to try to force them into the world, we really have to stop and think about it. What are the long-term effects of these things being forced into the world, into our society? What happens when you make it so that gender really isn't a thing anymore? Well, we're seeing all kinds of fallout from that. What happens if you change the concept of traditional marriage? What happens when you change the concept of sexuality, change the concept of race, change the concept of religion? We like to pretend that these are small things that don't really matter, but they have shaped the history of our species since its inception. The idea that race isn't a big deal is a super new concept, and we're still fighting about it. The idea that religion isn't a big deal? Well, this is probably the first time in human history that that's ever been an idea, because for most of human history, religion is the thing you went to war about, or at least the thing they said you were going to war about. It's really nice and comfortable to think we've got easy solutions to these problems. Just let people do what they want. It will be fine. But when you do start letting people just do what they want, what you start to discover is they do whatever the hell they want. And then the next thing you know, they're telling you that you have to do it their way. And that's a very natural human thing. This works for me, so it should work for you. It takes a lot of maturity to understand that the world works differently for different people. What is right for me may not be right for you. And also, I don't have to agree with your way. I don't have to agree with your religion. I don't have to agree with your political ideals. Hell, I don't even have to like you. But I do need to be able to accept the differences, tolerate the differences, and accept the idea that it's okay for you to have different ideas. And I know some people that have some pretty deplorable ideas. I've lived next to people who are actual literal Nazis. And it's a little unnerving. But as long as those belief systems do not spill over into violence, into taking people's rights away, into deplorable behaviors, then we gotta let people believe what they want to believe, even if we super disagree with them. Because at some point in time, they're going to disagree with things that I believe and I want to do. And if I have allowed them to believe their things and live their lives, then we might be okay with each other. They might allow me to live and let live. But if I've been a judgy jerk and I have gone out of my way to shake my finger at them and tell them that they got to do it this way, and if they don't do it this way, then they're going to be just delighted to tell me to F off. And to tell me that, no, actually I have to do it their way. And if I don't do it their way, well, then we've got a fight on our hands. And by the way, the fighting only sounds good when you're young. The older I get, the more lines appear on my face, the more tired I get, the more I'm worried about, like, my kids and just the world. I want more stability in my life. That's what happens when you get older. You want more stability in your life. It's one of the reasons why I would probably vote against something, vote against the idea of a polygamous relationship, because it sounds good until you start getting into the legal squirminess of who's right, who wins, who gets separated from the group, who has to pay child support, who's responsible for the kids. They've been in this commune, they've been in this collective group. Now they're not. Who's responsible for that? The world's a wild place, folks. Try not to get too judgy.